Hello?
Hi, Miss Lucy. Can we know where Mr. Richard is?
Yeah. Wanna come on up? Richard, come see the president.
Oh, yeah? Oh, hello.
Good
How are
evening,
you guys?
Mr. Richard. We would like to ask you 45 questions about you and the school. Would you like to answer them?
I would love to answer them. Let's go.
So, first of all, how are you doing?
I'm doing great today, yeah. It's a lovely day. The sky is blue. What is there to complain about?
Yeah, today the weather is really beautiful. And could you provide a short introduction of yourself?
Sure. I'm Richard. I'm from England. I'm 36 years old, as of just last week, actually. And yeah, I've been living in Korea for a while and teaching English and history to students.
I see. Could you explain your subject with 3 words?
That's a very difficult question, but I'll try. So I think when it comes to history, for just 3 words, I would say understanding our context.
Interesting. Then what was your motive for becoming a history teacher?
When I was in school, I had a really inspiring history teacher who taught me a lot and helped me understand my context and understand about history and my role in it. And through that teacher, he inspired me to become a history teacher in the future.
Was that in high school?
That was in high school, yeah, when I was studying A-levels in the UK.
Then what is your first impression of our school and one of our teachers?
The first impression of GAFL was quite impressive because the school was much larger than I expected and the facilities here are really good. The first teacher I met was the previous history teacher, Mr. McLaughlin, and yeah, he was really nice, but also a little scary, not him, but it was a little scary because he was trying to explain so many things to me about the course and the students, so yeah, the first impression was a lot of information to take in.
Then what do you think of the students in Gothel?
The students are really great, they're really enthusiastic, they're well prepared, they study hard, and yeah, everyone seems to really be interested in studying and doing their best and trying to achieve really good grades, which is really good.
Oh, that's really nice. Is there any episodes during your first week, first few weeks in Gothel?
Nothing I can think of, except there was a funny thing maybe last week. I was having lunch with some of the other teachers, and do you know Chris?
Yeah, I know Chris.
He brought the most ridiculously spicy food to lunch, and he couldn't finish it, and he was just sitting eating lunch and just crying. It was really funny.
Then what was the hardest part of the past few weeks for you?
Just getting to know all the students' names, and even that I'm still struggling on, and just kind of getting to grips with everything that I need to do this semester and picking up from where the previous teacher left off. What's this here? Can you see this? What an interesting meme. We've got Gothel and Stalin. Great combination. I think is it a dog? I'm not sure. What's this here?
I think it's supposed to be a child with a Stalin with a Soviet flag.
Oh, I see. It looks here like it's a dog. So that was my first reaction.
Then what is the best part, such as facility of the school?
I think the library is really good. I know maybe not all the students get to go to the library or bother to go there, but I highly suggest that you do, especially if you're a history student. There's lots of really, really good and useful things in the library.
I see. Then, did you go to the Mejum? Do you have any favorite snacks?
Yeah, I've been to the Mejum a few times. I like ice cream because it's really hot right now, especially mint chocolate ice cream. I know that's controversial. Some people hate it, but I really like it.
Oh, okay. Then, do you enjoy the cafeteria food in Gothel? What is your favorite menu?
Honestly, I haven't eaten in the cafeteria much yet, but I've been at the dinner a few times, and curry was one of my favorite things. I'm a really big fan of that. This is the history classroom, by the way. Isn't it nice? But we don't have to spend long here. We can keep going.
Then I would like to ask that how would you start your day when you come into Gothel?
With a big cup of coffee. That's always essential. So I come in, have some coffee, and then, get to work, really.
How much coffee do you drink every day?
Only 2 cups of coffee because I get headaches quite easily, and it took me a while to realize that that's from drinking too much coffee. So, these days I just have a big cup of coffee in the morning and usually another one after lunch.
Then during the school time, what is your favorite time during our school?
Probably the mornings, because just I'm most awake in the mornings and I get most of my work done. Especially, what was your question?
So what is your favorite time during the school?
Yeah, right, so the mornings. I used not to be a morning person, but these days I kind of became a morning person. So, after I drink some coffee and start the day well, that's usually my best time, I think.
I see, because to be a morning person is really difficult, but that was very difficult for me.
It was very difficult for me when I was younger, but I'm getting much better now.
Then, what are the 3 things you need to survive in Gothel?
Coffee. For me, I don't know about the students. Coffee, time management skills, and I don't know, just a good attitude, I think. Some positive energy, that definitely helps you. Coffee, time management skills, positive energy. I think those things will help you a lot.
Then I would like to ask some questions about Korean. First of all, how is your Korean? Do you understand what students say in Korean?
More than they maybe think. My Korean skills are not that great, but my understanding's pretty good. I think I've got like a survival level of Korean.
Oh, I see. Then, where is your favorite place in Korea?
For me, I like peaceful places, so especially like temples, I really enjoy. There's a good temple called Haeinsa. Have you heard of it?
Yeah.
I recommend you go there. It's really, really nice, especially if you visit in the autumn and stay in the evening. It's really peaceful, really silent. I really like that place. I've got some happy memories there.
I should visit more temples.
Sure.
Then, what was the most culture-shocking thing about Korean culture?
That's a difficult question. I don't think I was ever shocked by the culture, but some things were a little difficult for me to adapt to. So in Korean culture, people often want things done really quickly in a hurry. It wasn't so much of a shock, but it was a little difficult for me to kind of adapt to that and do things super fast.
Then, is there any favorite Korean foods that you enjoy?
Honestly, I love pretty much all Korean food, especially things that are spicy. So I really like spicy things. Let's be careful on the track here, guys. And you too. Spicy food is generally pretty good. I'd say if it's a spicy soup, that's always something I really enjoy. So gamjatang is probably one of my favorites.
Have you tried 불닭볶음면?
I have, yeah. It's good. I haven't tried the double spicy one, but I've tried the single level one, and it's good. I like it.
Nice. Is there any favorite K-pop songs or singers you like?
I really like IU, and I like. Do you know Ijok?
Yeah, I know.
I like him as well. I've listened to quite a few things. I like sort of acoustic, not too. What's the word? Not too sort of, not too many instruments, not too much processed kind of sounds. I like just simple acoustic things when it comes to Korean music.
Do you listen to them very often?
I listen to Korean music. I guess maybe once or twice a week.
And here's some questions that you would advise students in Gothel and other students as well.
I'll try my best.
So first of all, how do you manage your stress? And do you have any tips for students to manage their stress?
I wish I did. I think, let's watch out we don't get hit by the ball here. I think when it comes to stress, I'm not the best person to ask because when I was younger, Like when I was high school age, I didn't get stressed really. I never felt that stressed, but the older I've got, the more stressed I get. So I think I'm getting worse at handling stress rather than better. But I think just basic things like make sure you take enough time for yourself, go to bed as early as you can and just try to sleep well. Honestly, I think sleep is or a lack of sleep is one of the biggest causes of stress. So if you sleep well and you get a good sleep, then your stress levels will probably go down.
So you don't recommend any 심jas or ajas?
No, just sleep well. That's the best solution.
Okay. Then, how do you stay organized? Any tips for students?
I think just try to stay ahead of like what your goals and what's coming up like in the future. So for me, like I need to see like what's my end goal and understand like the big picture, and then I can kind of get organized around that. And also know what your end goal is, and then just focus on one thing at a time. Like don't try to focus on so many things all the time. Just focus on one thing at a time, and I think you can organize your time better.
Do you recommend like an hour by hour like to-do list?
No, I think that's too stressful, but it depends how many things you have to do. Like for me, like I said, I focus on the end goal. Like I know what my deadlines are, and then I can just focus on sort of one thing at a time. But try not to get too stressed in every small detail. Then you'll spend more time worrying about your schedule than you will about the work that you have to do.
Okay. Then finally, any tips for students who are studying history?
For students studying history, yeah, I have a lot of tips. I think really one of the most important things, especially with IB history, is to focus on the sources and to develop those critical thinking skills. That's really important. Like, of course, the knowledge and those things are important too, but understanding the context, developing those skills, that's really the most important thing. So, and also I'd say to students who study history, if you don't find the history you're studying interesting, don't worry, there'll always be something that you will find interesting. Like when I was in school, there were things I didn't find interesting and I got bored, but eventually you'll find topics that interest you, and that's a good way to kind of regain or find some enthusiasm.
Then I would like to ask some questions about your philosophy of education.
Okay.
So what is your philosophy of education?
I think my philosophy of education is really to help students find what they're interested in and don't force something upon them. Like I think a teacher should be a guide for the students and someone who can not force them or push them into something, but encourage the students to move in a certain direction or find something that they're interested in. I think that's the role of the teacher, and that's kind of my philosophy of education.
So I guess finding one's interest is more important?
Yeah, I think so. Like if you can find what you're interested in, then learning becomes enjoyable rather than being a chore. So for me, when I was in school, there were subjects that I didn't enjoy, and by finding something that I was interested in, then I could really, I think, develop my skills and learn more easily. So yeah, find what you're interested in.
Then how would you encourage students to care about events that happened long ago, like history?
Well, history is not about studying the past. History is about studying our relationship to the past. Like I said before, it's about our context. Be careful. So it's about understanding our context and about understanding our relationship to the past. So what I mean by that is every historical event has a huge significance, not to just things that happen right after that, but things that are still relevant today. So if you can find a way to understand why what you're studying is still relevant and still connects to the present, then I think you can really enjoy history and find a way to connect with it more easily.
Right, I see. Then in your opinion, what is the best part of teaching?
The The best part of teaching, I think, is getting the rewards of seeing your students do well, and not only through tests. Of course, that's important. You want to see your students get good grades, but seeing your students be enthused, and like I said before, when you're guiding them to their interests, when you find a way to help them and you see them become really engaged and really interested in a topic that you've helped them with, that's really rewarding as a teacher. So when you see your students like find their own path and you can feel like you're placing that or your role in that, that's really rewarding.
Oh, then what is the hardest part of teaching?
I think the hardest part of teaching is probably, like, you know, I said before, some skills you need, including time management. That's one of the hardest things of teaching, I think. Especially if you have a busy job like this one here, the time management is really important in terms of like planning your classes and planning all the other things you have to do, and within your lesson as well, making sure that your lesson has a beginning, a middle and an end. So for me, that's always been one of the most challenging things, like just controlling the time well.
I see. Then the previous few minutes ago you said it's difficult to remember students' name. Then how do you remember them?
Well, often I don't. But generally I just through time I eventually remember their names. Yeah, there's no special method. That's why I'm not very good, because I don't have a special method. So just eventually I will remember them, but yeah, it's always been difficult for me.
Then I would like to ask some questions about history. Then what is your favorite historical event that you love history?
Favorite historical event? That's kind of a weird and difficult question to answer.
Sorry.
But like I said before, I had a really inspirational teacher when I was younger, and his name was Mr. Knight, and he was a good name for a history teacher. And he really inspired me, and one of the reasons I think was because we were learning modern history, and it's not really the perfect answer to your question, but we were studying like the Cold War, so not one specific event, but I just found the Cold War like a really interesting period to study, and like I said before, I could feel that connection to the present as well, especially through studying that. So yeah, it's not one specific event, but I think the Cold War is particularly interesting for me.
I see. Then do you have a favorite quote of history?
Sorry, could you repeat that, please?
Do you have a favorite quote from history?
Quote, okay. Well, Winston Churchill has some great quotes. I guess as a British person, he said of the possibility of a Nazi invasion of Britain that we will fight them on the beaches, which is always a quite inspirational quote, I think. But yeah, I quite like that.
Then, following to that, do you have any historical figures that you admire the most?
Yeah, I mean there are lots, but of course historical figures are always flawed people and flawed individuals. I guess in recent history, like I said, I'm interested in modern history. Do you know Nelson Mandela?
Yep, sure.
So I particularly admire him, and I know that's kind of a cliched answer to this question, but when you imagine what he went through, he was in prison for 27 years, and then he came out and he basically forgave everyone and didn't hold any grudges about what had happened to him. I think that's pretty inspirational, so I admire him a lot.
Then what is your least favorite historical event that made you most confusing and annoying to study?
Well, as I mentioned, I became interested in modern history. So before that, I was interested, or I wasn't interested in history. I was studying about the Middle Ages and the Romans and the Normans and all these kind of historical conquests of England when I was studying in the UK as a kid. And I just never felt any connection to those events, and I found them just boring to study. And I don't know, it just never appealed to me. So yeah, for me that was always like one of the most
difficult things to study.
Then this is a very typical question, but if you could go back in history, what would you do?
I'd probably do nothing because I've watched too many time travel movies to know that everything you do will have a huge consequence on the present. So it's a very boring answer to that question, but I probably wouldn't change anything. I'm not going to kill Hitler if that's the answer you're looking for.
Then if you could recommend any best history movies you have watched so far?
Well, I guess one of the classic like modern history movies is Saving Private Ryan, which is about the set in World War II with the Normandy landings. That's really, really good. Steven Spielberg, a really good film.
Then any history movies that you find it the worst and most unrealistic?
Yeah, there's a movie called Pearl Harbor, which is about Pearl Harbor, but it's not really about Pearl Harbor.
Oh.
It's more about it's a love story that's set with Pearl Harbor in the background, and it's just a really terrible film. The story, it's not only historically inaccurate, but the story is just so ridiculous, and yeah, it makes me angry if I watch that film. So don't watch Pearl Harbor.
Oh, never recommend it, students. Then, do you like the interior in the history room? What do you think about the posters and the drawings? Which one do you find it the most irritating?
Irritating? Honestly, I haven't looked at all of the pictures to say that one is particularly irritating. I think the interior is good, but it's a little outdated. Like, I'm not quite sure how old some of the posters and things are on the walls. So I would like to, if there's a chance, like, have some students perhaps do some work, produce some posters that could go up there instead. But yeah, there's nothing in particular that irritates me, but maybe generally just it's a little old and yeah, kind of falling off the walls.
Then I heard that you don't enjoy watching football. Then what kind of sports do you like or enjoy watching?
No, even though I'm from England, I'm not a big fan of football. I like tennis. Tennis has always been one of my favorite sports. Not to play. I'm not very sporty, so I don't really play many sports, but I enjoy, when I was a kid, I used to really enjoy watching like Wimbledon, the tennis championship in England. My grandparents used to watch that, I used to watch it with them, so yeah, I became interested through that.
So there would be I would just about to ask you about your favorite sports team, but because it's tennis, not a special team.
So you mean like maybe sports player would be a better question?
Yeah, maybe sports player.
Yeah, I guess in tennis, well, there was Andy Murray, who was like a very, very good British tennis player, but unfortunately he's had a lot of injuries in the last few years, so he never really reclaimed his prior position. But yeah, I'm a big fan of Roger Federer. Yeah, I'd say he's one of my favorites.
Then, this is a very personal question, but many students asked you about your height. Could you tell us your height?
I don't think the height is that personal question. I'm 185 centimeters tall.
Oh.
Yeah, but sometimes like 186, depending on when I'm measured. Yeah, about 185.
Then, in Korea, we oftenly ask this. What is your MBTI?
Can I check my phone? I've done an MBTI test before,
Yeah.
but I don't remember what it is, so I have to look on my phone to find it. Hang on. Then I can tell you the result. I did my MBTI test like maybe a year or two ago, and everyone always asks me, and even in the school, a couple of people have asked me, and I can never remember. So let me find it. Sorry, it's going to be very boring while I just Google this. Or search my inbox. Here it is. My MBTI test is ENFPT. ENFPT.
Oh, I see. It's a very famous MBTI in Korea.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
It says I should be a diplomat, so yeah, maybe as a history teacher, that's a good thing, right?
Then, do you trust MBTI?
Yes and no, but mainly no. I think it's interesting to like get some feedback maybe about your personality and like read some things that maybe you didn't necessarily recognize yourself. But I don't like the idea that a test that I just do online that only takes like a few minutes can tell me that information. I think everybody's unique, and we shouldn't like put ourselves into these categories. Even though with MBTI there are a lot of categories, we shouldn't, I think, pigeonhole ourselves too much.
I totally agree to that. Then I would like to ask some rather questions. So first of all, IB history or AP history? IB
history, because you can develop critical thinking skills, which is more difficult in AP.
The next, 35 students taking history HL or 1 student taking history HL?
As much as I would love to inspire a lot of students, that sounds like more work than I could ever imagine having 35 HL students. So maybe just 1. If that is the only choice, 1 or 35, then I'm afraid I'm going to have to choose 1.
Okay, thank you. Our last question is, any final words to say for the students who are watching this?
Thank you if you've made it to the end. I know it was a little awkward and strange at the beginning, and maybe it still is now, but if you've managed to stay and watch the whole thing, congratulations. And yeah, good luck with all your studies and all your tests coming up. And it's a pleasure to be your new history and film teacher.
Thank you for answering all the 45 questions, and bye!
Alright, bye!